The Detroit Lions had a tough division loss in Week 9, but now they get to travel to Washington, who also lost on Sunday Night Football to Seattle, but lost something much greater than just a game on the field. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan. We're going to break down this Week 10 matchup and provide our predictions at the end. So be sure to stay tuned. Leave a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win and why. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button to get notified when more videos come out. And Ryan, let's get into it here. As I
Let's do it.
alluded to as well for Washington, yes, they lost the game on the field, but they lost so much more. Jaden Daniels, gruesome elbow injury, dislocated his elbow. And from what I've heard now up to this point, no fracture. It was kind of wild, too, from other YouTubers. If you haven't heard of this guy already, Brian Sutterer, I think is his name.
Yeah.
And so ironically, I had a stutter growing up, so it makes me tougher to say that name. But he breaks down, like, go check him out, breaks down all kind of major NFL injuries. And he did a really good video of Jaden Daniels' elbow injury. And it's possible that he could potentially return this season if there is no fracture, which I don't believe there is from the results I have seen. But I guess maybe they're still trying to confirm, and the news is still trying to confirm that as of this recording. But that all being said, though, there might not be any rush to return him because Washington's just not playing well this year at all. They also
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore. It's looked like he tore his ACL as well. Just a devastating game in general. Then there's a litany of other injuries as well that they've
Yeah.
been dealing with throughout the year.
And then Frankie Louvu also got suspended for a game. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's just things just are not going well. It's just not the sophomore year. I think Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, Josh Harris, their owner. I'm pretty sure it's Josh Harris. Is wanting to have here as they're looking to build a new stadium in the DC area. But and so I say all that, like, with Detroit, I know for Detroit fans, you're coming in and be like, tough loss to Minnesota, division game, still well within the playoff hunt and the division hunt. But you're facing Washington at a good time. I don't
yeah.
know if there's a better way to say it that way. Like, I think this is a good bounce back game for y'all.
Yeah. I think for me, if I'm Detroit, I'm just chalking that up to sometimes crazy things happen in division games. Because I think they were and are more talented than that Green Bay team or that not the Minnesota team, even though they
Minnesota
are
team.
very well coached. JJ McCarthy looked healthy for the first time since week one, really. And so I think again, like I said, just chalking it up to crazy things happen in division games. So I think the Lions will get a nice bounce back game here against the Commanders, who are really struggling. I was doing some research because as a Patriots fan, it looks like they're going to make the playoffs this year. But if you look at teams in the last 15 years that have had a top 5 pick and then go to the playoffs, 5 of the 7 that have done that have regressed and not made the or either not made the playoffs or like had 2 or more losses than they did the season before. And you can go back and each use case is a little bit different. But I think the common thing amongst all those teams is that the strength of schedule heavily increased from the year that they were a top 5 pick to
Yeah.
the year that they made the playoffs. And I think that's just kind of the case here for the Washington Commanders. They had a big influx in free agent talent last year. Some of those guys have aged out. I think they sold off some assets for guys like Laramie Tunsil, Debo Samuel, so they don't have that influx of young drafted talent as well. Couple that with some injuries and a tougher schedule, and here you are at 3-6 going into Week 10 in the regular season. And so I think there's just a lot of things that go on that have led the Commanders here. The good news is, I think you go look at that list of teams like Andrew Luck with the Colts, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott with the Cowboys are on that list. The Chiefs are on that list when they drafted Eric Fisher first overall. The Bengals are on that list. The Texans are on that list as well. I think you look at those teams, and a lot of those teams now are kind of the perennial playoff contender teams. And so I think the building blocks are in place for Washington if they can just get healthy and, use this year to get good draft capital and take advantage of that. I think that they can bounce back next year and be more in a situation like Detroit is in right now.
Yeah, and I think just kind of build off of that, and then to transition then over to Detroit, because it's like, obviously Jaden Daniels' injury is devastating. You would have loved to have had him on the field healthy this entire season as well, and then
Mhm.
have him not get hurt. But maybe could have changed a little bit in some of the games. But in general, though, I think one of the things too, just the other injuries, but also just their play on the defensive side of the ball has just been atrocious as well. They're 28th in total yards allowed, 28th in passing yards allowed, and 23rd in rushing yards allowed. They do have 22 sacks on the season, so tied for 10th, and that mark. But in general, though, teams have been able to move the ball against them,
Mhm.
and that's where I think for Detroit, like now, like you don't have to worry about Jaden Daniels as well too. Like he's not going to play, and so going up against Marcus Mariota is a significant easier task. But even then too, though, this Detroit offense, who shockingly had like a pretty poor performance rushing the ball, only 65 rushing yards this game. They were down for or behind for a majority of the game, but not significantly enough to where I think that it would have affected their game plan too much. I mean, they had 20 carries on the day, but you definitely want to have that be more like 30 or 40
Mhm.
with David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. But I think some of the issues, though, I'm going to be curious how Detroit recovers from these. But left tackle Taylor Decker got hurt. Terry Arnold, he got hurt as well. But also too, Christian Mahogany, he got hurt as well. And from what I saw about Dan Campbell said about Mahogany, he might be out for some
Yeah.
time as well too. And actually, when I transition back over to you, I'll go and confirm uh, his timeline overall, just as of this recording of this video. But I I say that like so in this game, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal because I just think the Lions are going to be able to just like overpower this defense as well too. With their offensive capabilities, and then on the flip side as well too, having Marcus Mariota in there, I think Aiden Hutchinson and company they're going to be able to get after them. They've been dealing with injuries in the secondary, but luckily in general, knock on some serious wood there. But they've been performing pretty well, if not just pretty well, really good in the front half of the team as well too. Eighth in total yards allowed defensively for the Lions, less than 300, 11th in passing yards allowed, and then 10th in rushing yards allowed, and third overall in the league in sacks with 28. And just for frame of reference here, Washington, they're allowing 24. So I think there's going to be several sacks today in this game here. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to be able to kind of pin his ears back and go after Marcus Mariota. And I think I think that's just the thing is I think Washington's just too injured. They're to your point, they're regressing. While the Lions, they've technically regressed too from last year, but everybody regresses after going 15-2 in the season that they had last year. So for me, yeah, that's why I'm going with Detroit here. They're also playing for a lot more. While we are recording this Monday night as well too. So I know the trade deadline is tomorrow. So don't be surprised if maybe there are some trades, some teams giving Washington a call, being like, "Hey, what do you need for this guy? Like, we need some help here." So Lattimore would have been a guy that I think could have been on the move, but unfortunately, though, it seems like that's not going to be happening with his injury.
Yeah. No, and that is unfortunate. Even to just playing out the year in Washington, be useful there. So just to kind of jump into predictions here, while you look up that from that quote from Dan Campbell, I'm going to go with the Lions if it's not obvious. I just think you look at how they match up. I think they'll be able to take advantage of this offensive line, as you said. Um, and then I think you look defensively. The Commanders have given up 120 or more yards on the ground in 5 out of their last 6 games. Most teams are around the 150 mark against this team. They only gave up 88 to the to the Seahawks, but when you let Sam Darnold go 14 for 14 for however many yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half, their will to play in the second half is pretty low, and I just think that allowed Washington to kind of load up in the front and just not really let Seattle run the ball later in the game. So I'm going with Detroit. I think they're just clearly the better team in this
Yeah,
matchup right now.
yeah. I'm going with Detroit also, if it wasn't obvious at this point. Mahogany, he was carted off the field, obviously, there's no, but at the end of the game, he was on crutches and in a walking boot as well. And they're saying it's a knee injury. So a lot to keep up there with on that. And just from the time of this recording, not able to see too much of any injury updates as of right now on just the severity. And so, but in general, though, yeah, I think Detroit's still going to win this game. And when it comes to the overall playoff outlook, Lions are last right now at the playoffs. We're today in the wild card spot. It's still well within the division hunt. They're only a half game back from Green Bay, and Green Bay still really hasn't figured out. They haven't turned into that playoff offensive team that I normally expect from them. But it is also the beginning part of November, and it's possible that they turn around. It's possible the Bears their momentum keeps on going, and the Vikings, maybe they're turning around too. This NFC North could get wild towards the end of
Yeah.
the year. So Lions are really going to need to win this one to keep pace.
Yeah, and that division too could kind of cannibalize itself and ruin their own draft position just because they keep beating each other. So that's going to be an interesting division race to watch. As far as this week goes, we are both taking the Lions. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap things up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Detroit Lions? Will it be the Washington Commanders? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.